Hey guys, my name is Joe and welcome to Potato Recap. Today we will recap a movie from 1995 titled Before Sunrise. So imagine you were on a train reading a book when a stranger caught your eye. That person seemed so familiar that you started talking to them and things started to happen. But before we get started, please like, share, and subscribe. And without further delay, let's get started. It all started in Europe on a train that was going from Budapest to Vienna. The U-Rail rolls along. Occupants read, doze off, and gaze out the windows in the cabin. A few people circulate through the aisles. Mid-20s age Celine is curled up in her seat reading George Bataille's Story of the Eye. She is incredibly attractive, but she downplays it by going makeup-free, donning a flowy vintage dress and sporting flat shoes. She keeps reading, occasionally nibbling on a chocolate bar. On the other side of the aisle, 4 rows back, Jesse, who is also in his mid-20s, is deeply immersed in Klaus Kinski's autobiography, All I Need Is Love. He dresses in the jeans and t-shirt style and has casually attractive but slightly scruffy appearance. In the seat behind Celine, a couple in their 40s who had been conversing in silence suddenly starts yelling at each other in German. The husband hides behind a newspaper when the wife swipes at it. Celine abruptly stands up, picks up her bag, and looks for a different seat. She locates a seat across the aisle from Jesse a few rows back. They briefly exchange glances before settling down and seem to shake their heads in amusement at the tension. The wife gets up and storms down the aisle just as she settles in and picks up her book again. As she passes them, Jesse and Celine realize they are looking directly at each other as if they had been following her with her eyes. He makes a funny, uh-oh face. He then looks at her and asks, "Would you join me for lunch?" She says yes. Celine says she was going back to Paris after visiting her grandmother, while Jesse was going to Vienna to catch his flight back to the US. The train pulled into Vienna after they talked for a long time about their hopes and dreams, but it seemed like neither of them liked being apart. Long after that, Jesse returns and asks Celine if she could come with him for one day since his flight was a day late. He uses a figure of speech to persuade her to picture herself in 20 years with her future husband. He says that if she goes with him now, she won't miss out on any other chance to find a better husband. So she decided to spend the day with him and look around. They started laughing as they walked around looking for places because they felt a little strange. Jesse began talking to 2 strangers about what to do in Vienna. When they asked what they hoped to see, Celine tells them they were on their honeymoon. Jesse kept lying, but other people knew he was lying and laughed about it. At 9:30, they invited them to a small show they were in called Bring Me the Horns of Wilmington's Cow. They get on a small local bus while Jesse asks Celine about her first romantic feelings for someone. She talks about a swimmer named Jean-Marc Fleury, who had green eyes and bleached-out blonde hair and looked like a beautiful dolphin to Celine. She found out later that this guy liked her and that he and she had spent some time together. He even asked her out on a date, but she said no. Jesse tells her that he is also a good swimmer. Celine asked him out if he had ever been in love, but he didn't feel comfortable talking about it. He also needed clarification. He was willing to talk about romantic things though. They keep asking each other questions, some of which are about spiritual things. They were learning a lot about each other. They go into a music store and sit in a booth to listen to their favorite song. While the song was playing, they looked back and forth into each other's eyes and smiled as if they were shy and probably had butterflies in their stomachs. They go to a few places before getting to a well-known cemetery where most of the people need to be named. Celine ran into the one person she remembered who had died when she was 13 years old. They finally go to a carnival in their town and ride the Ferris wheel. Jesse walked slowly towards Celine on a high tower and gave her a hesitant sign that he wanted to kiss her. She started kissing him and they both hugged each other. Without a doubt, they got along well from the start. They dance, play games, and have the time of their lives at the carnival. There, they talk about how their parents always had trouble with them. Jesse tells us that his parents are no longer together, but he didn't tell us until he and his sister were grown up. While this was happening, Celine's parents married and were happy. They talk about marriage and life for about a minute until they both decide to sit down and watch people walk by. He walks towards Celine to tell her a secret, but instead kisses her. Then a woman who reads hands walks up to them and agrees to read her hand for just $50. The woman's handreading shows that she is a seeker and an adventurer, creative, and needs to let herself go into this strange world. She also looks at Jess's hand and tells him that he is learning. Then she leaves. Jess thinks that the person who read his hand was messing around, since she didn't really read his hand. After Jesse makes Celine laugh, they leave. On the way, they see a poster and call it transitory. On their way, they see a church. They go inside and sit down, and Celine wonders how the same place can bring both happiness and sadness. After leaving the church, Jesse tells her that he would feel sorry for himself if he didn't take this chance to meet her. He says that he would probably be drinking coffee at the airport and thinking about her if he hadn't met her. She teased him by saying that she would have chosen someone else. They come across a beggar in about a minute, but he strikes a deal with them. If they like the poetry, they can pay however much they want to by giving him a word and having him write a poem specifically about it. Thus, after receiving the word milkshake, he creates the poetry, and it goes like this. Imaginary delusion, oh baby with your pretty face, limo eyelash, fill my wine glass with a tear, observe those large eyes, find out what you mean to me, milkshakes and sweet cakes. Lie, angel is who I am, as fantasy parade I am. I want you to understand my viewpoint. I no longer want you to speculate. You are completely unaware of my origins. We don't know where we're going. Flowing downstream, caught in the current, launched in life like branches in the river. You'll carry me, and I'll carry you. That is one possibility. You don't know me, don't you already know me? After giving him a few dollars, both now depart. Jesse purchases tickets for both of them when they find a small club. While playing a game inside, Celine buys him a beer, and they chat about their previous relationship. Celine talks about how her drunk and stupid ex-boyfriend hurt her feelings. When it's Jesse's turn, he says that the whole point of the trip to Europe was to hang out with his girlfriend and her 4 friends. But it didn't work out and they broke up. Now that they've left the bar, they'll keep talking all the way home. They are so into each other that they could talk for hours. Both of them get to the point where they talk about babies and other things. They see some people dancing on the street and enjoy it. Their conversation then takes a different turn and they end up sitting down somewhere. Jesse tells her that he sometimes thinks he'd be a good father, but that sometimes he'd rather die knowing he did well at something big than be in a relationship. On the other hand, Celine says that she worked for a man who was 52 years old and focused his life on his career and goals. When he was dying, he cried that he wished he had a good relationship with someone. Not long after that, we find a casino where she acts like she's calling his friend, with whom she had dinner the night before, where Jesse acts like he's her friend and everything they've done together comes out. After that, Jesse called his friend and went on to tell him how wonderful it was. That instead of going to the airport, he met up with this talkative girl. Jesse and Celine start blushing and they go to a different place. We can see that each time they meet, they get closer and closer until they kiss. Next, Jesse says that when a baby is born, he thinks to himself, now I'm looking at something. However, he knows that one day this will all be over. Celine says that they'll never be able to see each other again after today. Jesse doesn't see why not. They both think that tonight is the last time they'll get to spend the night together, and they agree to that like adults. After telling her that this was the last night and hours, he kisses her hand. Because Celine thinks it's sad, they say goodbye today instead of tomorrow. Both of them go to a bar, where Jesse tells the owner that he wants to buy Celine a bottle of red wine but needs more money. So the bar owner gives him a bottle of red wine to help him out. They lay down in a park that is empty and drink wine.
Jesse starts to talk about how he was tired of being himself, but being with her made him feel like he was someone else. He only felt different when he did something outside of himself, like a drink or something. Celine asked him to kiss her, and they almost made out, but Celine stopped them. Jesse asked her what would happen if they ran into each other again, and they both laughed. After a short walk, they decided to have a romantic moment. The following day, they are walking together, and Jesse asks her what she plans to do in Paris. Celine says she'll call her parents, but Jesse thinks he'll go get his dog. They find a house where a man is learning to play the piano. Jesse draws a picture of her in his eyes so he won't forget her or all of this, and then they kiss. They sat down and thought about how much they missed watching the cows play. Next, we see them getting ready to be apart. They are both nervous and can't find the right words to describe how they feel. So they start kissing and finally realize that they want to see each other. Both decide to meet at the same train station 6 months after the day they left. It was clear that they liked each other a lot. Jesse and Celine both felt like they were empty on the inside as they walked back to their homes. They thought a lot about each other and smiled at each other.
That's it for today. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate your support.